morning, everyone. Remember yesterday when I played the long clip, and I'm not going to play it today, of the Finance Committee meeting where they're trying to get to the bottom of the WE documents. They're trying to get the unredacted WE documents, the payments to the Trudeau family. How much did they get paid, essentially, is what the question is. And Pierre Poilievre is asking to not have the meeting suspended. The chair says, no, the meeting's going to be suspended. Poilievre takes over the chairship of the meeting, gets people to start asking questions, and then the chair interrupts and says, no, I'm the chair, and this meeting is adjourned. This meeting is suspended, blah, 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 blah. And, well, an update to that. The WE scandal meeting at Finance Committee that 11 MPs attended last night never happened. Look at the parliamentary telescreen where the video of the meeting just vanished. Repeat in unison. It is no more and never was. So I haven't actually watched this. I'm not going to play that because it's fuzzy. And well, here's the follow-up to this. Mr. Poilievre on the floor of the House asking the Speaker, because he was told it was a Speaker issue and not a Finance Committee issue, then he's asking for the documents. So here we go.
Government blacked out hundreds of pages of WE scandal documents requested by the Finance Committee. So we raised a point of privilege with your table saying, could you please help get those documents unblacked out? The Speaker said the Finance Committee should take that issue up. Yesterday it did, at which point Liberals said, no, this is a matter for the Speaker. When we explained the contradiction, the chair of the committee jammed his fist in front of the camera and suspended the meeting altogether. So here we are back in front of the Speaker. Madam Speaker, can you help us get these documents unblacked out?
As the member is aware, the Speaker does not answer to questions during question period. And seeing no member rising to answer the question, please go to the next question. The member for Carleton.
Madam Speaker, I feel like I've just called CRA and they've transferred me from one agent who says, no, I have to transfer you back to the other agent, who says, no, go back to the first agent. And then when you get back to the first agent, well, the line just goes dead altogether. So we have blacked out documents, a deadline. We've been transferred from agent to agent. How the heck are we supposed to get at the truth? Madam.
Here's the trick, right? Do you want to know my secret? You're not supposed to get at the truth. Right? That's like the Bruce Banner moment in the first Avengers. I'm always angry, right? But that's the point. We're not supposed to get to the truth. We're not supposed to even ask about the truth. How dare you ask about the truth? We're going to filibuster with our NDP friends, right? We're going to keep the government afloat with the NDP people and keep this kabuki theater of maybe we'll get some questions answered at some point in the future. It's not going to happen. They're hoping. People are like goldfish, right? Like we are suffering from amnesia forever, right? Like what were you doing 10 minutes ago? What were you discussing specifically, right? You probably can't remember, right? And after a long enough period of time in the news cycle, it all disappears. It all disappears. And so maybe they're just trying to run away from this scandal like they've run away from all the other scandals. I mean, there are a lot of significant scandals. A lot of well-respected, significant cabinet ministers have been removed from their positions. And yet, still, Trudeau and Freeland carry on, and they're in the position of power, and they're in control of this government. Okay, here's the Financial Post. Liberals filibuster opposition motion to get details of Trudeau family speaking fee, over top of the fact that they don't have a majority in the committee. It's interesting. Liberal MPs on the House of Commons Ethics Committee mounted a filibuster Friday afternoon on the opposition's attempts to get details of the Trudeau family speaking fees, particularly as they relate to WE charity events. The Liberals dragged out the committee's proceedings through lengthy speeches and repeated requests to adjourn. Finally, after 4.5 hours, the meeting adjourned without a vote on the motion after a Bloc Québécois MP joined with the Liberals in voting to adjourn. The committee will likely pick up the matter again at its next meeting. It is the committee's second attempt to obtain the speaking fee records after the first was blocked when the Liberals prorogued Parliament on August 18th. Opposition MPs say they want to review the records to verify how much the Trudeaus were paid by WE Charity and its related organizations. The motion, introduced by Conservatives, but with the backing of the NDP and Bloc, orders the Speaker's spotlight to provide details of speaking fees paid since 2008 for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, his wife Sophie Gregory Trudeau, his mother Margaret Trudeau, and his brother Alexander Trudeau. The documents would be reviewed by the committee in camera, meaning they wouldn't be made public. Because it's a minority parliament situation, The Liberals are outvoted on the committee if the Conservatives, NDP, and Bloc Québécois all vote together. Opposition MPs had originally hoped to vote on the motion at the committee's Thursday meeting, but that was blocked by the Liberals. A new meeting was called Friday by committee chair David Sweet, a Conservative MP. I'm ready to do this until it's resolved because we're into a second meeting dealing with the same motion, Conservative MP Michael Barrett said at the outset of Friday's meeting. We need to verify and get these answers, said NDP MP Charlie Angus. I know this debate may go on as long as the Liberals want to filibuster and shut us down, but the work of Parliament must be able to return to the Canadian people and say we did due diligence. They haven't yet. Angus said it his rationale for supporting the motion, saying he wanted to fact-check the information provided by the co-founders of We, Mark and Craig Kielburger. Quote, if the statements that the Kielburgers made are true in regards to the payments that were made, those documents will verify that, Angus said. But being that we haven't felt through our investigation of We that we have not gotten clear answers, and we need to be able to verify whether or not these payments are in the manner that they described. Where are the other payments? Where were these payments involving other matters? We need to know that. Liberal MPs on the committee repeatedly entered into long speeches that veered on and off topic, a standard tactic by parliamentarians seeking to delay a vote. The Liberals occasionally tried to amend the motion or have the meeting adjourned, but were outvoted by the opposition. At another point, a Liberal MP, Francesco Sobera, started reading into the record a media article about the government's COVID-19 smartphone app before he was stopped by protest that it was off topic. Both Liberals and Conservative MPs said they were prepared to meet all night if necessary, but the meeting finally ended after Bloc MP Marie-Hélène Girardeau, sorry, I forgot that wrong, said that she didn't see a resolution coming anytime soon and voted with the Liberals to adjourn. Right? Oh, we've tried for a few hours and we might as well just stop trying, right? Like, let's just stop trying. The Liberals have said they're not going to answer, so let's just stop trying. Yeah, great. Good job. Liberal MPs expressed fear over We scandal document release. This is who is this? The Post-Millennial. Liberal MPs are said to be quaking in their boots at the thought of the Trudeau family's talent fees being released to the Canadian public. These fees were paid privately to the Prime Minister and his family. Ever since revelations of the We charity scandal emerged, where the Prime Minister ostensibly gave $912 million to two of his friends, the House of Commons Ethics Committee has attempted to procure these records from the Trudeau family's talent agency, according to Blacklock's reporter. And yeah, all of that's not happening because yesterday, here's the House of Commons chamber, right? The official account for regular updates about the proceedings of the House of Commons chamber. The House is adjourned until Monday, October 19th. Yay, right? Thanksgiving. We don't need to worry about any of this stuff, right? No, don't worry about it, Mr. Polyev. We'll just erase that from history and we'll pretend like it never happened. And the electorate who's more focused on Thanksgiving and all of the other difficulties, right? The daily COVID numbers, because that's what's focused on in the media, will forget. We'll forget about this. We won't forget about this, but the general public will forget about this. And after a long enough period of time, we will also forget. Here is moving on into Ontario. How are big businesses dealing with this, right? How do you deal with news that you don't want to deliver or don't like being delivered? You kind of try and bury it on a holiday weekend, right? Yeah. And I said, I'm glad to report that the kids are still in school, for the most part, I believe. My kids are still in school. And I said that possibly that they were going to try and close down schools before Thanksgiving. And I think probably public pressure has prevented that. Public pressure has prevented even a province-wide lockdown in Ontario. They've done the targeted lockdowns to deal with these case spikes. But there are a lot of people pushing back against this, saying that the data is not supporting this action. Are we going to go the full 28 days? Is it going to be even more than 28 days? Are they going to increase the lockdowns in more regions as the cases continue to uptick? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen next, but it's very interesting to see this evolve because it is evolving. It's like a dance. It's a big dance with the electorate and with Doug Ford and with the other people who are making these decisions. They're pushing, they want lockdowns. Ford's saying he wants lockdowns. The language they're using, they want lockdowns, but the people aren't tolerating that. And they're saying that. So there's a push and pull going, right? So it's very interesting to watch. It's not great to live, right? But it's a part of history, man. This has been very interesting to watch. Okay, here's Chris Panglian. I've got that terribly wrong. Sorry, Chris. He's a journalist for the CP24, and he says, breaking, the province of Ontario is shutting down gyms, indoor dining, and movie theaters for the next 28 days due to the rapid increase of new COVID-19 cases. These restrictions are only implemented in the city of Toronto, the region of Peel, and the city of Ottawa. I don't think this is going to go well. I don't think that the electorate are for it. Now, I know there is a big group of people who are for it. I know that there are a loud group of people, including the Liberal leader in Ontario, including the Andrea Horwath, the opposition leader in Ontario. I understand that there are a lot of people publicly calling for more lockdowns, more stringent measures. We have to get this gone. But the hospitalizations, the ICU numbers, they're not matching at all what would need to be in line with the case numbers, right? They're not marching up at the same. They're not marching up the way they were in the first wave, right? And even the first wave was more like a bad flu rather than a crazy plague, pandemic, mass death, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There were some places that experienced really negative consequences in that a lot of people died, the long-term care, and that's horrible. But that's more indicative of poor management and having people in long-term care homes and locking down the long-term care homes. I don't think we did them any favors at all, reading the transcripts of what happened in those places. So I think that this is going to be really interesting to watch. Here's Brian Lilly. He says, I'm personally appalled that a bureaucrat, someone no person in Ontario has voted for or can vote for, making an announcement about the shuttering of thousands of businesses and telling perhaps more than 100,000 people that they will now be unemployed. Again, like, this is authoritarian, and I don't think they have the data to back this up. I don't think this is responsible. I don't think this is responsible at all. Here's the Ontario dashboard for COVID-19 cases, status of cases, 47 people in the ICU, 225 hospitalized. 225 people in the hospital, 29 on a ventilator. Is that worth destroying, like, all of those businesses, all of those small restaurants, all of those bars, all of those nightclubs, all of those gyms? Is it worth it? Here's Anthony Fury. He says, reminder, Ontario does not have actual evidence about COVID-19 spreading in bars, gyms, and many other locations, according to medical officers from multiple regions. Here's the National Post article about that. Gyms, bars, backyards. Why we don't know more about COVID-19, where COVID-19 is spreading in Ontario. I'll just leave that there. Here's Colin DeMello. It says, Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health says the measures, quote, would not have been necessary if people had followed the public health protocols, masks, physical distancing, etc. It's your fault, population. People were not happy with this. It says that idiot just blamed the victim for all their stupid rules that are completely useless against a 0.25 micron virus. Unbelievable. Fire him now, Ford Nation. Yeah, I was like, seriously? I can't believe that people are tolerating the chief medical officer of health making these kind of statements. Like, what's the percentage of people who aren't complying? Like 5%, 10%, 20%? Because they're cracking down on the people who don't comply, right? They've got fines and all sorts of stuff, and there's news articles on the people who don't comply. What's the percentage, right? Who are these yahoos who are not complying in the backyards and all this other stuff, right? This wouldn't have been necessary if people have been following the public health protocols. He's saying that Ontario has not been following the public health protocols. Pretty soon they won't be, because they have zero, the health authorities have zero credibility. None left. And this isn't going to get people to go, oh, you're a giant jerk and we should now listen to you because you're blaming us? Yeah, get bent, buddy. Get bent. See you later. Wow. Here's a Toronto Sun article. This is Anthony Fury. He says, where is the evidence for the latest restrictions? They don't have it. I have to see evidence before I take somebody's livelihood away, Ontario Premier Doug Ford said the other day. I want to exhaust every single avenue before I ruin someone's life. That was Monday. On Friday, he decided to ruin a whole bunch of people's lives. While Ford eventually took to the podium on Friday afternoon to discuss the matter, the government took the coward's way out by first pushing Chief Medical Officer Dr. David Williams in front of the cameras at an earlier press conference to break the bad news. That news being that indoor dining at restaurants, all fitness centers, indoor sports, and a number of other locations and activities were all shut down. Just the dining portion alone amounts to 60,000 job losses, according to Restaurants Canada. Restaurants Canada. Did Doug Ford see the evidence to justify that decision? Did he exhaust every single other avenue before giving the thumbs up to those restrictions? Or did he cave? Was he never serious about this pledge, which was applauded at the time when he first made it? Really, I'd like to know the answer to that question. And the millions of Ontarios now living under these fresh restrictions are owed it. So are the thousands of business owners who have now seen their livelihoods put on hold, some of whom will likely throw up their hands and permanently call it quits. Did we get the answers on Friday? Not really. We were exposed to a shock and awe volley of numbers and data to justify these new restrictions, but what we were never given was hard numbers about how many cases of COVID-19 have been confirmed to be caused by attendance at a dining facility or gym. We're supposedly living in an age of analytics and big data, but Friday's announcement offered no deep dives. There isn't an exact formula, said Dr. Williams. He went on to vaguely cite data from around the world and a combination of different data points used to assess the situation. Meanwhile, the province released a confidential document that was circulated around cabinet and caucus that bore the headline "Evidence to Support Further Public Health Measures in High Transmission Areas, the Need to Act Now." It includes graphs about infection rates, hospitalization rates, and the curves in other countries. There is zero information pertaining to the specific activities and regions in Ontario. There's nothing in it that isn't already in the public domain, yet this seems to be the document that swayed Ford to change his tune. There was one piece of data, though, that stuck out to me. It didn't come from the Ontario presser, but a federal one that happened just before. Dr. Theresa Tam released new projections on how the country was tackling the virus. It included a graph headline number of cases in hospitals daily per 100,000 population July 1st to October 7th, and was broken down by province. Quebec consistently hovered between having 1 and 5 people per 100,000 in hospital throughout this time span, and now has climbed back up to 5. Every other province tracked between 0 and 2, and currently around 1.5. Here's a straightforward question to ponder and consider putting to your elected officials. If the spread of COVID-19 is causing 5 out of every 100,000 people to be hospitalized, is that a number that justifies clamping down on the activities and movements of the other 99,995 people? I scroll down. It's troubling that after over 6 months of this, and after funneling more money and resources into the healthcare system, the highly paid public health officials don't have a smarter or more nuanced game plan to offer aside from a potentially endless series of rolling lockdowns of activities that may or may not be causing or stopping the spread of the virus. It's also troubling that politicians like Doug Ford now seem all too happy to go along with this vicious cycle. Yeah, there should be more questions. There needs to be a whole lot more than this. Honestly, the status of cases and the percentage of cases of these people who are long-term care victims, and yes, that's the right word, victims. They were victimized by this poor response, by this abysmal and tone-deaf and anti-human response, anti-science response. Honestly, this is way out of line of our usual tradition of how to respond to something like this. Unless you see much bigger numbers across the board, we should not have seen anything close to this in Ontario, to the lockdowns that we saw, to the suspension of personal freedoms and core charter rights suspensions. It is unbelievable. It is egregious. It is ghastly. And I know that I'm using words and it sounds kind of like it's like a Jackson Pollock painting with words. That's not what I'm trying to do, but it is so beyond what is usual from a government, and it's shocking that it's coming from Doug Ford, right? And it's because he's supposed to be conservative, PC party, right? And I understand that they're not conservatives, just like the federal conservatives aren't conservatives. But what are we supposed to do? How do you even fight this? Because they just shut you down, right? And how do they shut you down? I'll show you in just a minute, okay? We're going to get through some other COVID stuff, but there's some crazy stuff coming out of Quebec. It's unbelievable. You'll see it in just a sec. Okay, Winston Smith says, well, in these tough COVID times, the good news is we've pretty much eradicated the rhinovirus. Not ronavirus, rhinovirus. Wait, isn't the rhinovirus part of the coronavirus family? The PCR test wouldn't pick up rhinovirus as COVID-19, would it? Here's the 2018-19 season versus the 2019-2020 season for rhinovirus, not ronavirus, rhinovirus. Percentage of, right? I'll get me out of the way here because it's hard to see. So this is 2018-19 and 2019-20, right? Flat, 0. Where did it all go? Could the PCR test be wrong? Could the PCR test be using false positives? This isn't my data. This is somebody else's data, but it's interesting to note, right? In Ontario, with a population of 14.5 million, there are 2,811 critical care hospital beds with ventilators. In the entire province, the grand total of 29 people are on ventilators. They have 100 ventilators each. But Doug Ford just locked down the province again. Yes. Heidu's bad pandemic getting worse as she faces questions over lack of rapid tests. Friday's question period is generally an exhibition game, sparsely attended and largely ignored by the media. But the debate in the House of Commons between Michelle Rempel-Garner and Patty Hajdu raised questions about the complete competency of not only the minister, but her ministry too. Rempel-Garner, the conservative health critic, led off question period by asking about the lack of rapid testing at a time when the second wave of COVID-19 threatens to shut down restaurants and other businesses. We don't have jobs-saving rapid tests. Why? Rempel-Garner asked Rempel-Garner. The health minister's first response was to question the credibility of her accuser. Rempel-Garner was presenting false information to the House of Commons since rapid testing is available in Canada in rural and remote communities, said Hajdu. Rempel-Garner wasn't buying such palpable nonsense. I would challenge anyone presently watching this in Toronto and worried about their business closing to go out right now and get a test with results in 15 minutes. That answer was arrogant, deceptive, and incompetent, she said. Hajdu tacitly conceded as much by abandoning the argument that rapid testing is available. Instead, she advanced the theory that many jurisdictions have used rapid tests have seen a worsening of their outbreaks. Rempel-Garner appeared unconvinced about the iniquity of a tool that has been employed around the world, one which Health Canada has belatedly come around to by approving a number of antigen tests. We'll get to how good they are in just a minute. Rapid tests keep schools open. Rapid tests, I'll bring myself back. Rapid tests keep daycares open. Rapid tests keep women in the workforce. Yet we don't have these here in Canada. Why has the Prime Minister failed Canadian women? The positioning of that is just incredible. He's failed everybody. Like we don't have to break everybody up into little groups there, Miss Rempel-Garner. Hajdu was ready with her rebuttal. Around the world, there are very high-profile examples of how rapid tests have actually added confusion and increased the risk of infection, she said. They are not a silver bullet. If you've been puzzled why Canada has been so slow to purchase and approve rapid tests being used by so many other countries, the US, the UK, Australia, Italy, consider yourself informed. Not only does the health minister not place much value in them, she actively believes they may spread the infection. Hajdu did not provide any evidence to back up that contention. To be fair, the evidence to the contrary remains inconclusive. It is clear they increased the number of tests available and reduced backlogs. India was an early adopter and conducted 1 million antigen tests a day in the summer. Delhi was one of the first states to adopt rapid tests back in June, and by mid-July, the number of cases and deaths had plateaued. The introduction of rapid testing is credited with playing a part in controlling the spread of the disease. Regulators for the Indian tests found them reliable between 51% and 84% of the time, recommending people with a negative result and symptoms to get more reliable PCR tests. While they are not perfect, antigen tests are effective at detecting the virus in the first week of infection when viral loads are highest. Their use in schools, airports, and long-term care homes is widely viewed as beneficial in flagging potential cases and more quickly than PCR tests. But they're only viable between 51 and 84% of the time. It's not, 51% of the time is a coin flip. It's a coin flip. Okay, I was teasing about what's happening in Quebec. Quebec MNAs, and MNAs, I didn't know what they were. I didn't know the short for members of the National Assembly, okay? Are being warned about COVID-19 deniers attempting possible citizens' arrest on them. Oh no, those COVID-19 deniers and the citizens' arrest. Okay, Quebec Provincial Police have warned National Assembly Security Unit to be watchful of a potential attempts by opponents of COVID-19 guidelines to make citizen arrests of MNAs. The Sutra de Quebec confirmed, and I've probably said that wrong, so sorry about that, confirmed they were watching the CTV, or warning to CTV News in a letter to MNAs obtained by CTV. Quebec's legislators are warned that for several weeks now, several people on the web have stated that some MNAs are about to be arrested by citizens. The letter points out that there have been similar attempts at the federal level, including one attempt to arrest NDP leader Jagmeet Singh last month. I think this was a contrived thing that Kian debunked, basically. Kian Bexty, I think that's how you say it, from Rebel News, was like, this guy, there's something wrong with this guy. And yeah, so fake news linking to fake news. It's a rap smear. Back to this. The warning states that opposition to Quebec's public health measures has evolved from anti-mask and anti-confinement. This is the first time I've heard this. Anti-confinement. Who is pro-confinement other than the government? Who's pro-confinement? Are all people, if you're complacent in your house, are you pro-confinement? Anti-confinement? I do not comply. Anyway, anti-mask and anti-confinement protests, including civil disobedience to anti-government sentiments and conspiracy theories. The MNAs that are the most at risk are those who are the most often in the media. The letter states, although most of the threats remain based in the online world, the chance that some people could make actual attempts are not to be discounted, the letter adds. The letter advises MNAs who might be confronted by someone wanting to make a citizen's arrest to let the person express themselves without confronting them, and while continuing to make your way towards a secure area. If the person persists, warn them that what they are doing is illegal and call 911, as well as National Assembly security staff. Citizens' arrests are only legal in Canada if the person making the arrest finds a person either in the act of committing a crime or escaping from and freshly pursued by persons who have lawful authority to arrest that person. I don't recommend going to do a citizen's arrest, but again, this thing that they're referencing here, I don't think happened for real. That wasn't a real thing. That was something put on to give the media something to report on that isn't Trudeau's wee scandal. So this whole COVID-19 deniers thing, it's again, us versus them, splitting people off. Here's Marco Mendicino opening up the borders on October 8th. And this is the same clip I showed yesterday where Patty Haydu says, all of the spread is community spread. So don't go and get together for Thanksgiving with your family. But they're opening the borders as of October 8th for grandparents, extended family of Canadian citizens to come into Canada. How do they know? They don't know. The answer is they don't know, and they don't care. They don't care. I was going to play this, but I'm not going to play this. Marco Mendicino is very slimy. Ezra Levent says, I heard a rumor that citizens are abusing this COVID-19 snitch line and snitch website. Let me be clear. Do not falsely report Mayor Karen Davies. Do not falsely report Health Officer Dr. Elizabeth. Do not upload new photos to the snitch website. Thanks. The fact that we have a snitch website in Brampton, right? Here's the city of Brampton, to report a violation of a provincial or municipal order implemented to reduce the spread of COVID-19. Brantford citizens can visit, and it gives them the address and the phone number for the snitch line. Concerning. It's concerning. That's not good. That's not good. We live in a free country, right? And I am allowed to do things so long as they don't infringe on your rights, right? So long as they don't infringe on your basic rights. And as long as they don't hurt you, right? I'm not out to hurt anybody, but you shouldn't be allowed to call the police on somebody who's got 11 people in their house. Those wild party throwers, them. Here's Chris Sky. I don't know about the neck tattoo, because if I was wearing this thing and I had the neck tattoo, I'd be constantly like trying to make it like so it was in line. It would just drive me crazy, and then I'd be like, you know what? I'm just gonna wear a shirt so nobody could see it. I don't know. Anyway, if you wanted to find out about him and what he thinks about the charges, this is the guy who broke the quarantine rules to go to the public event and speak against the masking laws and blah, 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 blah. And he got charged. And there's more to the story. He gives the news girl the gears here. I don't know. It's a little arrogant, really. But at the same time, like, he has a point. There's a lot of stuff that he's saying that I agree with, but he does it in a bit of an arrogant way. The news people are being rude too, but yeah, kill them with kindness, Chris. I don't know. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. It's fine. Like, you're allowed to be rude because it's fake news, I guess. Maybe that's the kind of angle he's taking, but I don't know. I don't know. I think that you could get your point across a little bit better rather than. It was an interesting interview to watch. Okay. Another small here's a little example of hijacking language and reclassifying something so that it fits into a legal description of something else, right? Here's another reason small lies matter. First, they called CO2 pollution, right? And now they label some plastics toxic to trigger legal provisions that they know, though they know they're not toxic. What remains of the rule of law if words can mean whatever the state wants them to? And right. If you're deemed to be racist, and then you say, well, I'm not racist. And then they say, you weren't racist, but we reclassified what racist means, so now you are racist. Believing what you believe is racist because we changed the meaning of racist. Ta-da! Plastic is toxic. Magic, right? I feel like the final countdown should play in the background. Job's coins should fly. Globe and Mail is reporting, it's time to rethink our fixation on home ownership. I wonder what the paper's owners think of that. Like, I wonder what the board of directors of the newspaper, like, are they communist as well? Do they believe that everybody's property is everybody's property? Or do they believe that their houses are their houses, right? Rethink our fixation on home ownership. Get bent, Globe and Mail. Like, the irresponsible push of the leftist view of things is nothing but irresponsible, because it glorifies the left's view of things without pointing out any of the obvious pitfalls and without pointing out any of the lessons learned or taught by history, right? Oh, we should be a post-ownership state, a post-nation state. Well, what about Canadian culture? Like, is that not valuable? What about the history that we have? What about the country that was built all together by all of Canada for the last 150 years, as imperfect as it is, because no one's ever perfect, right? Flaws and all, right? We built it. Does it not have any value? Is it worthless? Should it be thrown away into the dustbin of history because it's racist, because it's history? It's so frustrating. Elizabeth May says, we're going to talk about Joe Biden in just a second, but Elizabeth May says, inspired by the Harris-Pence debate, when men just keep on talking and talking. Do you not know what a debate is, Elizabeth May? Like, do you understand what a debate is? And excuse me, the reason that I'm pointing this out is Elizabeth May is just one of many, many people who are in Canadian politics and who regularly comment on American politics or adopt the American politics position on things and repackage it for Canada. But this idea that Pence was mansplaining or man-interrupting or something to the effect of that is why, like, the UN tweeted about it and a whole bunch of other people tweeted about it. Miss Harris is competing to be the vice president. She agreed to debate Mr. Pence. And if you watch the presidential debate, there were interruptions left and right from Biden and from Trump. And because that's part of the debate. So trying to repackage this as something that's sexist is irresponsible. Again, it's irresponsible. It's feeding the fires of division. It's feeding the fires of us versus them, of those evil men, you know, like it's not helpful. And there's no evidence in history that men subjugated women in order to push men's power further, right? Men and women worked in partnership to raise societies, from Japan to China to India to the United States and Canada and all in between, Europe and everything. Men and women worked together to build all those societies. And there were exceptional men and there were exceptional women. Margaret Thatcher, right? And Winston Churchill, just off the top of my head. And I don't know why they're both British, but whatever. I could name a bunch of exceptional women and men all through history, right? Leaders of India, a line of women. There's all sorts of examples and all sorts of counters to these narratives of white supremacy and it's bullshit. If you look at it for 10 seconds, it's bullshit. And yet our leaders are still propagating this bullshit. They're repackaging mansplaining and man-interrupting, all this garbage. It is only to divide, and they should be called out on it. It is not responsible from leadership. And Joe Biden, to make this funny, Joe Biden removes his mask to cough.
The kinds of investment that will stimulate the deal.
I'll just put this mask back on now. Great. How wonderful. So funny. Like, it's parody, right? We don't need comedians, man. We got the presidential candidate, Joe Biden. Every day, man. Every day. Here's Yelp, the last one. Yelp, now when a small business gains attention for reports of racist conduct, Yelp will place a new business accused of racist behavior alert on the Yelp page to inform users, along with a link to a news article where they can learn more. I will never use Yelp again. Here's your Star of David, business. You've been accused by, here's your Star of David, whichever business that you want to call, like this pizza business. Your competitor, other pizza business, has called you racist, and they're not going to have the racist thing on their profile. So sorry about that, and you can't defend yourself because you're racists. Bye. This is, again, divisive and unbelievable. unbelievable that they think this is a good idea. This is this is such a bad idea. I can't even articulate how bad an idea this is. I think that this will hurt Yelp. Other than the fact that maybe like Yelp has a lot of authority, and so they get a lot of Google results, right? If you search best whatever for travel, you get a lot of Yelp results, right? For restaurants and hotels and all sorts of stuff. So the only way for them to feel pressure is if people get upset about this. And there are a lot of people who would be happy about this, right? Happy to hear that there's a way to label a person that you disagree with racist, right? So like if you go and have a bad interaction with a business and you want to hurt them, what are you going to do, right? You're not going to be like, they gave bad service. You're going to say, well, they're racist because they gave bad service. Did you guys see the crazy woman in the Toronto Tim Hortons who was screaming at the workers, screaming, call the police, Black Lives Matter, call the police. Like, that's helpful? This is helpful? That person, the screaming customer who comes behind the counter to make her own coffee and screaming about Black Lives Matter, she's the one who's in the right here? Sure. And Yelp, the ones saying we're going to label you guys racists if anybody complains about you being racist? Yeah, you're not helping, guys. You're not helping. You're just throwing gasoline on the fire and saying, we'll call the firemen soon. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com. Check out CanadaReport.co. And check out SpeakingMoistly.co. I think Greg and I are scheduled to get together on Tuesday, so that'll be fun again. And enjoy your Thanksgiving weekend. It's Thanksgiving weekend. I've got a dinner today, a dinner tomorrow, and a dinner Monday, but that's just regular dinner. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.